Hello and welcome to the second episode of the Synapse Misfire Podcast. I'm your host, Chris, and your other host, Jordan. He doesn't get to introduce himself this time because he failed last time, so...
I was called into a meeting, and I had two options. I could get the fuck out or lose my my intro card. So
Yeah,
I chose the obvious one, and I'm not
Yeah.
fired, so that's good. That's very good.
Yeah, I mean, I already had a replacement lined up. I got this guy called Chunk. He's a bit of like, he's like furry all over. He's got 4 legs. He doesn't say much. But despite his deformities, I think I could overlook that, and he would make a good co-host. But Jordan agreed to revoke his introduction card, so maybe we'll upgrade hosts eventually. We're friends, by the way. We're actually friends.
Yeah, did we mention that in the last episode? And also, if you haven't seen the last episode, go back and watch it.
Go and watch it. We recorded it 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, keep in mind, that was the first time either of us have done anything, podcasting related.
Yeah.
With actual equipment that does things.
Like real equipment. Like
Yeah.
we spent like half an hour playing with the effects on our mixer.
Yeah. So, any improvements that you can think of, send them in to synapsemisfire@pm.com, right?
.me.
.me, my bad.
synapsemisfire@pm.me.
Yep.
Send in your suggestions, questions,
Anything. You can call us shitheads, how much you hate us.
Yeah,
Think we should
exactly.
quit, that's fine.
Yeah,
anything you can think of.
Send us death threats at that email. That's not a joke. Send us death threats.
I mean, if you do, we'll read them on
That's
read 'em
true.
on
I
the podcast.
want something to read.
No, but in all seriousness, yeah, send in anything you have.
Suggestions, comments, whatever stuff you don't want to put in the comments for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Send it over. Keep in mind, any executable files, things like that, we won't open.
Oh, we're not? I already opened 3, though.
Oh, damn.
Wait,
I
is
already...
that why my computer caught fire? Damn.
Yeah.
I thought that was just a power surge. My bad.
That'll happen, power surges.
Damn.
Man.
Yeah, anyway. So what are our topics today, Mr. Host, who revoked my damn hosting abilities?
We have a few topics, but I'm going to get into something deeply personal to me. I like coffee. I drink a bit of coffee, honestly.
Yeah, me
a
as
fair
well.
bit of coffee.
Yep.
And recently, I had a 4, 5, 6-year-old Keurig, like the original Keurig, and it just shit the bed. It just had an incident where just one morning it started making half cups of coffee, and
That's like half as efficient.
yeah, and it took like 5 actual minutes to make the coffee, where it usually spits it out in like a minute and a half, if that, right? So it was time for a new coffee maker. Loaded up the old Amazon machine, bought the fanciest Keurig I could find, simply because it advertised a set of features that I really liked. It had a whole bunch of sizes, 5 if I remember correctly, and it has an iced coffee feature, which I like iced coffee.
As do I.
And the thing shows up. I'm taking a look at it. Like, this looks good. This is way nicer than the original Keurig. And I look at the instructions, because there's a dedicated button for iced coffee. I'm like, how does this work? What makes this thing tick? Do you have to, like, put refrigerant in it? Like, what happens? So I'm looking through the instructions, and the instructions for iced coffee is to make regular hot coffee over ice. That's the whole instructions. Why would you advertise iced coffee as an option when you have to make hot coffee over ice, which you would have to do anyway to make iced coffee you could do on a regular Keurig? What? Why is that a feature?
I think, I'm just spitballing here, but I think the reasoning is because it worked. You were buying it for that feature,
and it did work, and I'm upset about it. It did work, and I can't send it back because obviously, like, I'd be without a coffee maker. So
yeah, that's no good. You need to have a coffee maker.
I need to suck back that caffeine addiction. So that was my experience with Keurig trying to get a new coffee maker.
Now here's the real question.
Yeah.
So their ploy may have worked now, but do you plan on ever buying another Keurig product?
Probably.
All right. Turns out that you're an idiot.
They got me for life, dude.
They got you.
They got
Damn.
me.
Not sponsored, by the way.
Keurig,
Obviously.
send me a new machine. Send me one that actually makes iced coffee.
Otherwise, we'll forward those death threats to you.
Yeah. Yeah, at the email address we gave you, send us death threats directed towards Keurig. We're gonna forward them over to their support email.
I also don't think that would work very well. I don't think they have coffee makers in prison.
They have coffee.
Tough sell, honestly. Tough sell. I don't want to go to prison because I heard they didn't have coffee makers. So.
Yeah, definitely not Keurigs. Definitely not iced coffee, like I was promised.
Oh shit! All right.
That's the most devastating thing that's happened to me in a while.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking.
I'm unfortunately I'm sorry that it hit so close to home, and that maybe we can send them that in an email. Like, yeah, my friend's really shooken up. He hasn't come out of his room in 6 months, even though it's been like a week and a half.
I found him hanging from the ceiling fan. With just the word Keurig written on a piece of paper. That's a suicide
with a
note.
hyperlink to a Google Doc. Yeah, that's exactly what I found. All right.
We're already off to a great start.
Lovely. So what's our first topic, Master?
Our first real topic?
Yeah.
Let's talk about something recent. Something in the news.
Ooh,
maybe. Now
we're actually being informative rather than just a bunch of dumbasses. Nice.
Yeah, then yelling about coffee makers.
Cool.
So, recently, the Overwatch League, which I didn't know people actually still played Overwatch.
Yeah, neither did I. I actually never was able to play it, and I kind of wish I did.
But you weren't, I would say you're not missing much, but the thing is, when it was relevant and people played it, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
And I don't even really like FPSs that much.
Mm-hmm.
So, the Overwatch League, apparently that's still a thing. They fined a player 1,000 United States dollars for posting a Pepe meme on Twitter. He posted the frog, the cartoon frog, and he got a $1,000 fine from the Overwatch League.
Did they provide reasoning?
Well, it says, let me see. Let me go back here. I'm looking at the article right now because they did provide a reason. Yeah. He was able to appeal the fine and claim that he was unaware of the green frog's alleged connection as a hate symbol. Because it's the green frog that was posted on 4chan. And 4chan's a dangerous place.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as someone who frequents 4chan, they throw the N-word around a bit.
A little bit, yeah. Just a tiny bit.
But honestly, in all honesty here, I think it's just a company trying to get good guy points on the internet. Yeah. I won't go too far into politics, but it's just them being dumb. They just want brownie points from the people who actually think that the cartoon frog is a fucking hate symbol.
Yeah, it's just covering their own asses, honestly.
Especially after that move they took with China and Hong Kong.
Yeah, that.
When they took a pro-China stance.
Yeah,
that was foolish.
Yeah, that definitely didn't work out in the end for them. So
whatever. No one fucking plays Overwatch anymore. So.
Yeah, I mean, I know it launched on the Switch, and I was gonna try it, but then I remembered PC Master Race.
There's a second one coming out.
I heard, and it has a single player story.
Yeah.
I'm a little intrigued by that. A little bit intrigued.
I couldn't tell you how much I don't care. It's essentially the same game.
Yeah.
But because there's crossplay.
I was gonna say I heard if you have Overwatch 1, I guess Overwatch, when Overwatch 2 comes out, you can play the multiplayer together. You're really just buying a single player campaign. Yeah. So if it launches for $60 USD, that's a problem.
Well, then granted, the first one launched at 40.
Okay, I was not aware of that.
So if it launches at 40 again.
But you're really only paying for a single player campaign because you could technically just buy Overwatch for like $20.
Yeah.
Well, I say that, but I also don't know what it's on the PC side. I'm assuming it goes straight through Battle.net, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I doubt.
We're going off the rails. I'm gonna look it up.
All right. But yeah, on console you could totally just buy it, believe it or not, on disc for real cheap, or even digitally for real cheap, and play with the Overwatch 2 people. and all you miss out on is a single player campaign. So,
let's see.
I don't think 40 is necessarily, that good. But we'll see.
Yeah, the only thing they're really pushing is the story mode.
Yeah.
And this is officially from Blizzard, and it says, your mission continues, and you keep your collections, you keep all your skins and your loot. And current Overwatch players will battle side by side with Overwatch 2 players in PvP multiplayer.
Mm-hmm.
And they will also be able to play Overwatch 2 heroes and maps. So if you only play multiplayer, there's no reason.
No, cool. Whatever. At least, it's good that they're doing that because, it would kind of suck if it was the same game but with a story and they made you rebuy it. And thinking back to what I said, $40 if the single player is fleshed out, like an actual single player game, and it's fleshed out and it's good enough, then yeah, 40 ain't bad because it's like any other single player game but with a multiplayer mode.
Yeah.
I don't know what appeal the story mode has yet. They haven't showed gameplay or anything. I'm assuming it's Overwatch but story based.
Yeah, they have like a really long, complicated, convoluted lore.
Yeah.
That I don't care enough to learn.
Well, that's what I was just gonna say. Was I think really only Overwatch fans, big fans, because there are huge fans out there of the game, and the lore are gonna actually give a single shit about the story mode.
Yeah, I mean,
but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, there is lore to it. Not that I, for one, care. Like I said, I couldn't be bothered.
Yeah, no. Yeah, there's a lot to get into. It's tough sometimes with lore. When you have a game, sometimes, especially like a franchise, there'll be a lot of lore and a lot of world building. Not so much Overwatch. I'm more thinking, honestly, The Witcher with me.
Yeah.
I've had a hard time.
But the thing with The Witcher is how much
sense?
time you can spend in The Witcher.
True.
Think about what you do in Overwatch. You jump into a match and you play a match.
And that's it. Yeah.
Whereas with The Witcher, there's 3 fleshed out stories. Mm-hmm. Even with The Witcher 3, there's practically 2 extra games on the end of it.
Yeah, basically.
Right. Those expansions are insane.
Yeah. So it made sense, But hey, if Overwatch fans are excited, and if they can make it, maybe they'll make an awesome ass story. I don't know. Time will tell.
Maybe it'll be good. I couldn't tell you. I'm not gonna buy it. I can tell you that much.
Vote with your wallet, my friend. Yeah, no. I'm not especially intrigued by it, but I just can't believe they'd find someone for that. That's hysterical.
That's whack. I just wouldn't pay it. I don't care.
Yeah, imagine getting arrested for posting a meme on the internet.
Well, if you want to get into the whole aspect of it, that actually happened to. He didn't get arrested, but he got fined by the Scottish government. It happened to a YouTuber, Count Dankula. He made a video where he taught his pug how to do a Nazi salute.
Yeah,
I
do remember that.
He got an 800-pound fine from the Scottish government from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tough.
Obviously, the government can't fine you in America for that.
That's what I was getting at, but I didn't know where this incident took place. If it was America,
this is
you said 1,000 USD, right? So
yeah, it was from the Overwatch League itself.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't from the government.
Yeah, that's strange, but I guess if they have their rules or if they're trying to brown nose some people,
yeah,
they do what they do. They do
what they do. They're gonna sit there and pretend to care about this whole shebang. When in actuality, they're actually sucking China's dick.
All the way down. But yeah, regardless.
Fuck Blizzard, dude.
Honestly.
I've marked down thin and light laptops and how much I hate them. Now, if you know a little bit about me, I like Lenovo ThinkPad. I have several of them, actually. And the newest one I have is from 2013, and I use it every day. I actually have that specific laptop in front of me, whereas my expensive, $800, $900 gaming laptop is just sitting there recording the audio for this. So, what I wanted to say, my gripe with the pursuit of a thin and light laptop is you compromise on ports and cooling, and it just sucks. It's awful. I want a laptop that I can actually use, and I want to be able to use like my devices with it.
Yeah.
And sometimes that comes at a cost of like make it a little thicker. Give me like more than one USB-A port. Or don't give me just a USB-C like the 12-inch MacBook.
Yeah.
Or all MacBooks now just have a USB-C.
At this point, it's all just that one Thunderbolt USB-C.
I'm not saying it's a bad interface. It's a perfectly good interface to use.
Yeah, but when you have 15 things you need to connect to it.
Exactly. I don't want to go outside, to my workplace, to my learning place, something like that. And then I sit down at my desk and I have to plop down my laptop, open up my bag. Oh, I want to use a mouse because trackpads suck dick and balls. Now I have to use a dongle for that because there's no USB-C wireless mice, or not cheap ones at least.
And I honestly haven't seen any.
If you're taking a mouse anywhere, you want a cheap mouse, right?
Yeah, no, you don't want some expensive high-end mouse.
Exactly. The mouse I use for this laptop, I use it at work every day, is like a $20 mouse because I've already lost one of them.
Yeah, so imagine if you had a $90 to $100 crazy-ass mouse.
Exactly.
You're going to lose it.
So,
or if you do, you're screwed.
I want to use a cheap piece of shit mouse, right? I want to sit there like an asshole and take out a dongle and plug in a mouse to a dongle. Oh, wait, I want to use a flash drive now. Get a dongle, plug it in. It makes no sense. Oh, God forbid I want to charge my laptop too. I got to unplug the dongle, plug in the charging cable. What? That's ridiculous.
No, that's something I don't care for with modern laptops. I think there's a place for things like the Surface Books. And there's a place for
there's absolutely a place for it.
But this meta of making products that have one port that does quote unquote everything, but they didn't mention the 35 accessories you need. It's like the headphone jack on phones. I understand the movement, but I also hate it.
It's not that I particularly use the headphone jack a ton on my phone. It's that I want the option. It's the principle of it.
Yeah.
And it's not like I often use more than one or two USB-A ports on my laptop. I have 4 on this laptop. It's the principle. I want the option to do so.
Well, it comes down to, especially when you're paying that premium. So think of something like a MacBook or a Samsung high-end flagship.
MacBooks aren't cheap.
Not at all.
I recently...
Yeah.
one of my bosses, very wealthy man, bought 2 MacBook Pros recently. I know because I made the purchase for him. So he bought 2 MacBook Pros recently, and they were like $2,500 a piece. And those are like base level MacBook Pros. And granted, I will say, I gotta give Apple credit. They won't ever have my money. I'm not ever gonna buy anything from Apple. But I have to give them credit. The trackpad, pretty good.
Yeah.
For a trackpad.
For a trackpad, it's
keyboard,
one of the best.
The keyboard, superb.
Yeah.
Amazing. The only keyboard that I think can compare is the classic Lenovo keyboard.
That's how a lot of people feel.
Where it was like it was like an actual desktop keyboard.
Yeah. Yeah, and a laptop form factor. So.
Yeah. Fuck all ports though.
Yeah, no.
I think you get 2 or 3 USB-Cs.
I think it's 2, one on each side. And it's the same concept as the headphone jack, where like, if they're gonna at least, take out ports and do things like that, give me a valid reason. Don't just tell me I couldn't fit it or we couldn't fit it.
Exactly.
Because that's the thing Samsung tried to pull with the Note 10 Plus that a lot of people were pissed off about. They took out expandable storage, they took out the headphone jack, and then people were like, well, why couldn't you put it in the base Note 10?
Yeah. We took out the expandable storage and we took out the headphone jack, but check this out. We got these new wireless earbuds and we make a new 512 gig version of the phone.
Exactly. That's at the end of the day, I know this would never happen because this isn't corporate mindset, but just tell me that. Don't bullshit me saying you can't fit it and then I have to go watch a YouTuber tear down the base Note 10 to see that there's like 3 inches worth of open area.
That I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe that there is a cutout for a headphone jack on the iPhone 7.
Mm-hmm. And it's the first one they took it out of, right?
Yeah, there's a cutout for the headphone jack. It's just not there.
Yeah, exactly.
On the actual motherboard, I mean.
Yeah, that's the part that
That's why I have a Note 9 right now. 128 gig base phone. Decent, right? I have enough storage on it. I don't need to expand it, but I have the option if I want to. All USB-C, if that's your jam. It has the S Pen. Great. I take notes at work with this thing all the time. And it's got a headphone jack. You're telling me they could fit all this and like a 3,000 milliamp hour battery or like 3,500 milliamp hour battery. And you're telling me that a bigger phone can't fit it?
When it only has a 4,000 milliamp hour battery, the Note 10 Plus.
Yeah.
So
a bigger phone? You're telling me you can't fit a small little jack in there?
Yeah, and that's the part that annoys me is that's not the case, you know?
Yeah,
that's where I'm like, ugh.
At least, just be honest with me. Don't bullshit me here, Chief. Like, I don't have the time for it. And that's why if I ever need to replace my Note 9, I'm just going to get something cheap. Honestly, I don't need this expensive high-end phone, you know?
Yeah, I've come to realize that in recent months as well.
Especially you live on your own now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, but you have your own expenses that come with that, and you can't be buying a $1,000 smartphone every year. I can't either.
I wish they were $1,000 now. The S20 Ultra, $1,400.
It's like 15 or something.
The Note 20 Plus or whatever Ultra is rumored to be like $1,600 fully spec'd out.
Jesus
Same
Christ.
thing with the iPhone 12. I paid $200 less, more rather, than the S20 Ultra for my first vehicle. Yeah. Yeah, I paid like $1,600 or like $1,700 for my first vehicle, and granted, it lasted like a year and a half or like almost 2 years. It's a vehicle. It got me to work. It got me to school while I was still in school. My phone did nothing but watch YouTube and like go on social media. And,
yeah, that's the thing. I do practically nothing with my phone, to be honest, to justify having such a high-end phone.
Yeah.
And that's why if I get a new one, I'm not going to get like a S20 or whatever. Because, 1, no headphone jack. 2, very expensive.
Yeah, extremely.
And the most intensive thing I do on my phone is like I stream music. Or like I go on Reddit.
Mm-hmm.
Or something like that. It's dumb shit. I don't do anything. I don't make calls. I have a computer,
Yeah.
I can do way more on my computer than I can on my phone. I prefer to do things on my computer. And maybe I'm just a boomer, but like I hate doing things on my phone. It's too small keys. I don't like the autocorrect. I don't want to give all my information to the Google. Okay?
So instead I just use Chrome on my laptop.
Imagine using Chrome in 2020.
What do you use then, tough guy?
Firefox.
It's like
free and open source software.
Isn't it like the same shit?
Look it up. Free and open source software. Do your research.
Damn.
So, the point I was trying to make is that it's not that I particularly... Well, with a laptop, I use the headphone jack quite a lot.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's one of the... I mean, a lot of... Well, yeah, it's just one of the better interfaces because you don't often have necessarily like Bluetooth earbuds around.
Yeah, and the thing with a Bluetooth earbud, it has a battery.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, not if, when it dies, you got your backups, right? I got the same pair of earbuds that I got with my Note 9. Great earbuds.
Yeah, I did. Yep.
I put some fancy foam tips on them. Great earbuds. A little section of the braiding of the cable, that's cut out. I don't know why. I forgot what I did with it.
Tried to eat it.
Something like that. But I use them a lot. Because no matter what desktop operating system you're using, and I shouldn't say that, at least on Windows and Linux, Bluetooth pairing isn't the greatest.
Yeah, no, it's
on
not.
Linux, it's a bit better. And as with most things. But on Windows, it's awful.
Yeah, no, it's certainly not enjoyable.
I can't get it to work through the settings menu ever. I have to go into control panel.
Really? Huh.
And that's a common theme with me. Like, I hate using the Windows 10 settings menu.
Yeah, you have to use control panel instead.
Yeah, we're gonna come back to Windows 10. I want to bump that to the next slot.
All right.
Because that's a
topic for
that's
its own discussion.
For a little later. We're talking about laptops now.
In case you didn't know.
So the thin and light laptops, I would say probably the de facto one people think about is the MacBook Air.
Mm-hmm. Which pulls off the light aspect incredibly well.
Oh, absolutely.
And the thin.
It's very thin, very light. It has about 10 watts of cooling capacity for a chip it's an ultrabook processor, so it's not going to be super high power. It's not going to be like a 105 watt, desktop unit, CPU, but it's going to spike to like 20, 25 watts, and it has like 10 watts of cooling.
Yeah.
And
so you're in the negative there.
Yeah. And Linus Tech Tips, you may have heard of him. He did a video about it.
He's slightly smaller than us.
He did a video about it where him and one of those other schmucks, because I only know him and Anthony because I like Anthony. He's my favorite LTT host. That's Anthony. If you ever hear this, I love you.
For his sake, I hope he doesn't hear this.
So anyway, Linus Tech Tips, he did a video about it, the MacBook Air, where he and one of his goons took it apart, and they took the cooler off, and it was making like practically no thermal contact.
Real? Was that the one you showed me that day where it was like off to the side?
Yeah. Well, the fan, not on the actual heatsink. There's no heat pipes connecting it. It's just a fan off to the side.
Yeah. It was Alex that showed me that one. Yeah.
And
so bad.
Fan's just off to the side. No thought put into it at all. Right? Secondly, they took the actual cooler, like, block off, which, again, no fan, no heat pipe, nothing. And it was made in such a way that it wasn't making good thermal contact with the die of the CPU.
Yeah. So
what they did is they took it to their big warehouse, their machine shop area.
Yeah.
Machined out the holes
to make it fit better.
To make it have thermal contact, and wouldn't you believe it? It worked a lot better.
Yeah. Well,
or
who would have thought?
Even what they did as well is they took that interface, that block, and they put a thermal pad on it, so it was thermally conducting to the actual aluminum chassis of the MacBook Air, and it was way better. So I don't see. And Linus also brought up a good point, which I agree with here, is where he said that they're intentionally making their Intel cooling solutions shitty so that when they introduce
the Apple Silicone,
it looks so good.
Yeah.
By comparison, because an ARM-based CPU uses, 5, 10 watts, maybe?
Yeah.
Like, I have a Raspberry Pi that has an ARM-based CPU. And I have like a little teeny tiny heatsink on it, and it sits, and no fan, anything, it'll sit at like 55 degrees.
Yeah.
You put a fan on it, it sits at like 35.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point. I didn't know about that part with Linus. That's a great observation as to the reasoning.
Yeah, that's all credit to him for that observation. But yeah, it makes sense.
That's ridiculous when you actually think about it. In the grand scheme of things.
I think the move to ARM is good in a way, but bad in a way.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar.
I don't want to stray too far off topic just yet, but we'll add that on because we're gonna tack that onto the list.
That'll be coming up, so just be ready for that.
So back to laptops. That's what we were talking about. what I noticed as well is there's a lot of people copying the missteps that Apple makes. Like the new Dell XPS. The Dell XPS series is like the laptop to think about. There's like the old ThinkPad series, and like if you want a new high-end laptop, the Dell XPS series is usually the way to go. Right? And the new Dell XPS is like, you get one USB-A and you get two USB-Cs. Granted, they're Thunderbolt, but and you can plug in an eGPU. But if you're playing games, since it's so thin, there's no cooling capacity, so you're not gonna get
throttling the whole
yeah,
time.
you're not gonna get good performance out of your brand new i7 or i9.
Yeah.
Out of an $1,800 laptop. Why do I have to make a compromise and buy a new dongle?
Yeah.
For an $1,800 laptop.
Yeah, well, I mean, it comes down to, like, obviously laptops serve their purpose. There's people that genuinely need a laptop more so than a desktop. But for the same price, you can build a desktop that, if it's for gaming, per se, like you had mentioned, you would get so much more performance out of that chip.
Well, that's the thing, is there is a place in the market for it.
Yeah.
It's not like this doesn't have any place in the market whatsoever. It's just that I don't want it to be the entire market.
Yeah,
and that's the issue I have.
No, well, that's like we had talked about with the phones too. Like, you don't want every phone to be missing a headphone jack. Unfortunately, that seems to be the case.
Every flagship phone is missing one.
Yeah. Which is why I'm partially interested in what OnePlus is doing. I hadn't really heard about them until like the OnePlus 7, but they're doing good things on like their budget lineup and stuff like that.
They're like definitely an in-between phone. They're not like budget per se, but they're not like
their older phones are, but yeah, their newer ones aren't, like you said, they're not budget.
They're in between. I knew someone who had a OnePlus 1. I believe they bought an invite to buy the phone. And that was a hell of a phone.
Yeah,
especially for what he paid for it. I think he paid like $350 or something for the phone, unlocked.
Well, it's like the new OnePlus Nord. Have you seen that?
I haven't. No.
It's their new budget phone. To appeal to the budget crowd, because they've switched over to like some flagships, like
some like high-end phones. Yeah.
Yeah, which is like $900. The OnePlus Nord is $400. And it has like a Snapdragon, I think 765, 16 gigs of RAM or 12. Like it's a good phone.
That's formidable, especially for the price.
It has an optical underscreen fingerprint scanner, so it uses an optical scanner, meaning it takes like images of your finger. So it's not like it's not as secure as something like the ultrasonic that you find on like Galaxy phones, but it's
good enough.
It's good enough, and it saves that stupid compromise you have to make with iPhones, which I think, of all things, the worst part about the newer iPhones is the lack of a fingerprint scanner. And you have any idea how many times I use the fingerprint scanner on my phone a day?
I use it all the time.
I could not imagine buying a phone that doesn't have a fingerprint scanner. Could not imagine it.
I remember I had a bad experience with the fingerprint scanner on my S7. It just didn't work as well. But the Note 9, honestly, the back fingerprint scanner, perfect.
Yeah,
the finger placement, perfect.
I had I had a LG K20 Plus. It's like a LG budget phone. I think it's like $200. Before I had my first flagship phone, before I started working and was able to buy a phone for myself. So like when I was young, and it had a back optical fingerprint scanner, and wow, you don't realize how great it is.
It's
when it's
so
on the
much
back.
better.
And I personally love
because you hold the phone the same every time, so your finger placement is perfect every time.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, I love what Samsung is doing with the under glass ultrasonic. Like, I think the cool factor is like awesome, and I love it. But I think there's nothing wrong with a back glass or just back panel fingerprint scanner. They're freaking awesome. Or even some of the phones have the power button fingerprint scanner. Those are interesting. I've never really had the opportunity to try one, but they're pretty interesting. I think that might be another.
Would be the same kind of meme as what the laptop fingerprint scanners would have.
Yeah.
Where it's like it's a smaller area of your finger that it's scanning.
Yeah.
Which, all things considered, is maybe a little less secure. I don't know.
I don't know.
But it's faster and a bit better.
Yeah, I don't know like the science behind it, but I'm sure it's less secure than a full-on fingerprint scan.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm not like super paranoid about security.
No,
I mean,
not
I
at all.
am to a degree.
Yeah. I'm more concerned with online security, more so than physical device security.
Yeah.
I don't expect anybody to really get
Yeah,
a hold
honestly.
of my phone.
Honestly, and I've seen some guys who are like really paranoid about security say that their phone is almost a disposable, where someone can walk off with your phone. How often do you not have your phone in your pocket?
Unless it's in my hand or charging, I always do.
So unless it's in your home charging,
Mm-hmm.
or
In my
it's
car
in your
when
hand,
I'm driving, charging, or in my hand.
then it's in your pocket.
Yeah.
So how is someone? Yeah, unless someone's, and as we say that, it's
On the table,
on
on the
the
side
table.
of us. But,
Yeah,
but it's also just us, and it's within eyesight. So
exactly. How often are you leaving your phone somewhere?
yeah, and I understand the whole accident thing, but I don't know if it's just me, but ever since phones have gotten remarkably expensive, I don't leave it anywhere.
Exactly.
The first time I leave the house, the first time I leave anywhere I've been, I literally go phone, wallet, keys. That's exactly what I do.
Even at work, I usually have my phone on my desk at work, and if I get up from my desk without my phone, I go back and get it.
Yeah.
And that's at work.
Yeah.
Like, I know the people there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I don't just leave it lying around like it's $25 smartphone. It's
Exactly.
not. I paid
Yeah.
$1,100 for my phone. If you think I'm gonna just leave that sitting on a table, easily accessible to other people, you're crazy. That ain't gonna happen.
So one of the topics we brought up earlier, Apple Silicon. They're going ARM based. I think it's interesting for like a MacBook Air, like a toy, you know?
Yeah.
You don't get a MacBook Air to do work.
No. Well.
You get
To
a
do
Mac,
heavy
you get a
CPU
MacBook,
intensive
you
work.
get a MacBook Air to say you have a MacBook.
True. Or for basic spreadsheeting and shit like that.
Yeah.
Very minimalist, use case.
If you want to get actual work done, you get a real Mac. You get like a Mac Pro, or you get an iMac, or you get a MacBook Pro if you need something on the go.
Yeah.
And those are considerably more money. I think those are going to stay Intel. I think, personally, especially the Mac Pro, which show me an ARM-based CPU that has the horsepower of the Xeon Platinum that they're putting in there.
I mean, I don't know much about ARM, but I'm assuming that there ain't nothing that's gonna.
You know what is an
compare.
ARM-based CPU? My $35 Raspberry Pi.
You don't put that in a $2,800 MacBook Pro.
Yeah, or like a Mac Pro that costs $6,000 for the base model, mind you.
Yeah, have you? Speaking of that, the new Mac Pro goes up to like $40,000 fully spec'd out.
That's like almost 50.
Jesus, man.
Well,
Put an ARM CPU in that.
Well, all things considered, for what it costs, it's kind of a value. Kind of.
Yeah.
As long as you don't get the RAM upgrades directly from Apple. Buy your own RAM, it's a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
Obviously, getting 1.5 terabytes of RAM, kind of difficult.
Yeah, that's true.
Kind of expensive, but it's nowhere near what Apple's going to charge you for it.
Yeah.
It'll probably be like another 6,000, 8,000 maybe. Which, if you're already dipping in for 6,000 for a base machine, and if you upgrade it, the CPU is going to be like another 10,000.
Yeah, that's true.
Whether you buy it from Apple or not. So
There's a weird dynamic there.
it's a very, very, very niche market. I imagine they probably sell 1, maybe 2 Mac Pros a month.
Yeah. It's not like a new iPhone, or a new iPad where they're just selling like crazy, or their Mac
Exactly.
Pros and stuff. But someone buys a Mac Pro every year, like the new Mac Pro, the new MacBook. Sorry, not the Mac Pro, the MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
They buy it, the new one every year, shit like that. No one buys the Mac Pro every year.
Well, so they don't update the Mac Pro every year.
No, it's been a while.
They've had the trash can, which was a failure. They had the
It was a trash
original.
can, yeah.
They had the original cheese grater, which everyone says is like the best Mac Pro.
Yeah.
But those are losing support, and I was thinking about investing in one a while ago, but it's just you don't get good value over something like an old workstation tower, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Wouldn't an old workstation be much more modular
Yes.
by today's standard?
Well, the original cheese grater does have a lot of options. The CPU is socketed, the RAM is socketed. You can put GPUs in it, but it doesn't have that support for Mac OS.
Really? Which is oddly unusual for Apple.
Well, they support stuff back to like 2012, which is pretty impressive.
Oh, that's very impressive, yeah.
But it's not as much as Microsoft, where they supported Windows 7 for like 12 years, right?
Yeah, it was something like that. It was a long time.
It was like 07 to like 2019.
Yeah. Which is, impressive. That's crazy.
That's a lot of support time. But still, in 8 years of support, that's impressive. But it just, because the newest cheese graters are from like 2010, 2011 maybe, and they don't have that support for what's the new Mac OS, Big Sur.
But yeah,
I don't know if that's out yet or if it's still Catalina.
Yeah.
I don't know specifically. I'm not in the Mac ecosystem.
No, we're just kind of outside looking in.
Exactly, because if I ever get a Mac for some reason, and I'll tell you this, I'll do a Hack Pro before I do a Macintosh. I'll tell you this right now, I'll do a Hackintosh before I do a Macintosh. I'm not gonna buy anything from Apple.
Yeah.
I don't like them as a company.
Yeah.
I say that, but I own a Samsung phone.
Yeah, I mean, not particularly better, but it brings back to what I said earlier about like the fingerprint scanner on the iPhone X and up, where there's none. At least, like, for the most part, in my opinion, the essential features I need out of a smartphone, they're all in the new Samsung phones. They take out certain bullshit like the headphone jack, but
yeah,
I can still get everything I could get done with the new phone. Sometimes with Apple, I just feel like they take out shit that really it should be there.
Well, and that's the thing is Samsung, I can also kind of get behind, is they offer parts and service for their phones.
True. You can get it repaired.
Where I can go into probably legitimately like one of the dingiest places on earth, walk in, talk to some foreign guy, and get a new screen on my phone for cheap and quick too. It'll take 15 minutes. You have to go to like an Apple repair center, like an Apple store, to get your iPhone repaired.
Getting your iPhone repaired can be the biggest pain in the ass ever.
It's like if you get your iPhone, if you replace the screen yourself and it's not a genuine Apple screen, which you can get them, there's actually a big market for refurbished screens where they take smashed ones, they replace the glass on the front, and they sell that, so it's a genuine Apple part technically, because the glass obviously isn't
part of the part. Yeah. It's not registered essentially.
Yeah, so the screen, it's a genuine Apple serial number that it reads. And there is a machine you can get to take a third-party display
and give it that serial number,
flash the old serial number from your old display onto the new. But
why should you have to do that though?
Exactly. Why do I have to do that? Why, when I can buy for my Samsung phone, I can buy a third-party display, replace it myself, and get all the features out of it.
Well, that's like
because you don't get True Tone from your third-party iPhone display.
That's true.
And Apple will nag you every like couple days saying, "Oh, you don't have a genuine Apple repair. Please take your phone to an Apple store."
Yeah. Well, that's like my girlfriend when she her camera is broken on the back of her iPhone 7. The like internal lens is like cracked or something. Took it to Best Buy when when it first broke to get it fixed, and instantly they ring up Apple about getting it fixed, and they wouldn't even fix it because the iTunes account that was used to set up the phone isn't the same one that's currently logged in. So she had got the phone secondhand from her dad. So obviously he got it launch day, set up with that account, and then she obviously signed into her own account. And they would not repair it. We had to leave because Apple refused to provide I think it was to unlock the phone or something. Otherwise, I guess it's like you said, if they replaced the display or the camera, something would have went wrong software wise, and the phone would have been locked out. So they're trying to get them to do that. They wouldn't do it. Just wouldn't do it.
Yeah, they there's definitely some like just really anti-consumer stuff that Apple does, especially with third-party repair too.
Oh yeah.
If you get certified by Apple as an authorized repair technician, you still get shafted because someone brings their phone to you. Oh, you're an Apple authorized service provider. Well, you take a look at the phone as the service provider. You say, oh, it needs this, this, and this. You have to make a list, send that to Apple as an invoice, and they'll get back to you whenever
they feel like it.
and
yeah.
it takes sometimes 2-3 weeks to get parts.
Not everyone's able to wait that long.
Exactly. If I was a customer and I walked into a store and I said, I need a new screen on my phone. If you're telling me it's going to take any longer than like a couple hours, I'm walking out.
Yeah, no, understandably as well. Or, I mean, if you're telling me like, hey, we don't have a part to fit it, it'll be in within like 2 days. Don't tell me 3 weeks because you're waiting for some jackass on the other side of an email to
exactly,
reply.
Yeah.
That's just that's beyond anti-consumer, you know.
Absolutely.
So that's Apple for you, and a lot of other companies. I mean, they're not the first, and they're certainly not going to be the last. So.
Oh, there's a lot of companies that still do that. It's a pain. My point, what I was saying, is that there's definitely a market for ARM-based CPUs in laptops, like the Microsoft. There's a Microsoft Surface with an ARM-based CPU, and there's a market for it.
It's a power efficient, like small.
Yeah.
You know.
It's great when it's in its comfort zone.
Yeah.
When it's not,
Got some issues.
Yeah, when you're trying to do like actual work. And they say they have this, like, they mention this new, like, translation layer that they can do where they can translate things on the fly. Okay, I don't really buy that, to be honest with you. Is that going to really
be the fits, you know?
Exactly. Because I've seen things translated and messed with on the fly. Like, I run Linux, if you didn't know.
We didn't mention it a bunch of times if it wasn't a topic the whole last episode.
And I have to use like something like Wine or like Proton a lot. And essentially what Proton does is the program will query a file. It says, I want this file, this Windows specific file. And Proton will say, okay, I have this open source version of this Windows specific file. And it's sort of a real-time translation layer. I'm not super specifically sure, as a tongue twister, on how it works. And I believe that's how it works, basically. I imagine it probably caches some files that you use frequently, so it's not real-time, and I imagine that's how Apple's will do it too.
Yeah, as a way of, kind of creating that sensation, essentially.
But I have a very good CPU. Like,
really? Ryzen 9's all right? Yeah? Decent?
Yeah, it's decent. It's alright. I can't picture that on an ARM CPU. Like I said, my Raspberry Pi, I imagine it's going to be a lot more powerful than a Raspberry Pi chip.
Well, yeah, I'd sure hope so.
But my Raspberry Pi, it has trouble playing videos at like 1080p on YouTube.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people talk about that with the Raspberry Pis. YouTube.
But I imagine it's probably going to be something closer to like an iPad chip.
Yeah, like a mobile processor.
It's very formidable.
Yeah.
My thing is, like, why would they make... I understand why they would make their own silicon, whether they would make their own chips. However, why would they do that when they have the option of, like, the iPad Pro? They're already marketing that as a laptop, which I think is stupid, but...
Yeah, that's worse than the whole thin and light thing.
Well, yeah. Well, it's because you're not getting a... Let me spec this out right now, because it's ridiculously expensive. Because I think it's great if it doesn't start at what it starts at. The iPad Pro starts at $800.
Wow. It's a lot of money. And
you get an 11-inch display.
So smaller than like a MacBook, because they have the 12-inch MacBook, right?
Mm-hmm. This is for $800. You get a 11-inch display, 128 gigs of storage, no cellular capability, just Wi-Fi. You can engrave it if you want.
That's pretty cool. What is that? Another 1,200?
No, that one's free. You can engrave it.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I'm surprised about that.
I had to get some iPads ordered for work, and we had our company name engraved onto the back.
That's cool.
So if they get lost.
That's actually genuinely cool.
If you want a good display, 12.9 inch, hell of a display.
Yeah.
That starts at $1,000. Oh, you want some real storage? What would you say is an acceptable storage for like a light laptop? You're doing web browsing, things like that.
256.
256. That's 1,100.
Okay.
For that, but that's just the tablet.
Yeah. Did we mention the like $100 keyboard?
Oh, you're naive. It's more than that.
Is it really? I know the old one was. Oh, I might be thinking of the Surface actually.
There's the Magic Keyboard. I heard that's
garbage, right?
Is the Magic? No,
the Magic Keyboard's a really cool one.
The Magic Keyboard's the really good one.
Yeah.
So you want to get a keyboard with your new tablet computer? That's another $300.
That pains me.
Present me another keyboard that costs $300. I can't think of one, genuinely.
I can't think of one. However, I do know that I'm pretty sure there's some mechanical ones.
I know they exist.
High-end gaming ones. But keep in mind, high-end gaming computers. I know there's a Razer keyboard with, it's basically fiber optic. It uses light instead of a normal membrane press, a button. That's less than that.
There's the only thing I'm thinking of that's close is that wireless Logitech keyboard. I was gonna get it, but it's really expensive. It's $250. It's a wireless, mechanical, full-sized Logitech keyboard, and it's $250.
Yeah.
Wireless and mechanical.
You know.
You don't get any mechanical switches, and you barely get a trackpad.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I'm looking at this keyboard.
Trackpad's like 2 inches.
Yeah, it's not a great layout, to be honest with you.
No, it's not.
It just seems like the keys would be way too small.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I have a folding keyboard that I use for typing that I think I would enjoy better.
I feel like I've used that one a couple times. I just haven't gotten my bearings with it. But I feel like if I did, that one would be pretty good.
Yeah. But that also costs $50, not $300, and that's also folding.
Yeah.
It's a tri-folding keyboard with Bluetooth, and it can literally switch between 3 devices at once.
But wait. You get a USB-C pass-through port. Just one, so you can either charge or use a real device.
Oh, nice. I'm glad. See, this is why I love Apple.
A great company.
They make content.
If you're looking for a laptop and you're going to spend $1,100 anyway, don't get an iPad Pro. Yeah. I'll tell you this right now. This is my advice for you. This one's free. Don't get an iPad Pro.
Hey, quick question. What's a computer?
I'm leaving. I'm quitting the show. That's it. All right, now I'm going to complain.
Yeah, he tends to do that a lot, if you haven't seen the running theme.
That was actually the entire last segment was me complaining.
And it continues.
So I'm going to complain more. So as is typical with a Linux user, I have to complain about Windows.
Well, yeah, you have a quota, right? You have to meet like a quota.
Exactly. Yeah, I have to complain about Windows at least a little bit.
Yeah, I thought that was part of initiation for Linux.
Actually, yeah, like when you go to the Arch forums, or when you go to download Arch, you can't just download it. You actually have to go into this big, like round, dark room, and it's filled with like several hooded figures, black cloaks over their face. And you have to sign a contract in your blood that you have to complain about Windows or Mac OS, depending on what you're switching from, to whomever you meet.
Yeah, and if you don't...
And I signed that blood oath, so I can't not do it now.
Yeah, I mean...
So, I get to complain now.
All right, buckle in.
Now, I have a deeper experience with Windows than most people do, simply because I mentioned this in the last episode. I work an IT job, and believe it or not, Windows pretty popular. People use it.
I didn't know that. I thought they were going for bankrupt.
Nah, it's only got like 90% of the desktop market share. All right, it's not that popular, but it's pretty popular.
A little bit.
So I do like a lot of admin stuff on Windows, and how is an operating system that costs money, one, gonna feed me advertisements, and two, why is it so difficult to add devices to my Windows install? This isn't a cheap operating system, mind you.
No, I mean, Home is $100.
Yeah, and I have to use Windows 10 Pro because that has Windows 10 Home doesn't have domain support.
Mm-hmm.
Windows 10 Pro does. So I have to use Windows 10 Pro because we use a domain. We use Active Directory at work. That's like $250 for a license. Something like that. It's pricey. Why is it that it takes me like 8 tries to add a printer?
They're just trying to waste your time. That's all.
I have to go in and then give it 6 months. If that. It just decides to break itself. And it's not like we're on shit printers either. These are like $1,000 business printers that are on static IPs that are managed on a business enterprise grade network switch. Very high fidelity. We have practically no downtime. Knock on wood, because I'm going to say that, and now I'm going to walk in Monday morning and the whole server room's going to be on fire. So why is it that why is it so difficult to take a digital document and then bring it into the physical world? Why is it technology that's existed for so many years, it's so difficult for it to work?
Yeah.
Especially on Windows.
Oh, yeah. Well, almost exclusively.
Have you ever tried to use... I know you use Windows.
Yeah, Windows 10 Home.
Have you ever tried to use the Settings app for anything?
Sometimes for Bluetooth devices. Yeah, that's not fun.
Yeah, isn't it awful?
Yeah.
Isn't it like the worst experience you've ever used?
It's one of the worst. It's up there on the list.
How is it that... Okay, remind me again. We're in the year of our Lord 2020, right?
I think so. I've lost track. I mean, everything's failing around us. So.
Yeah, that's true. The whole world is collapsing as we speak right now. It's 2020. We're not like cavemen. We're not ape boys running around the forest banging rocks together, all right? We're like a smart, very developed species.
Speak for yourself. I'm pretty dumb. I tend to bang rocks together.
All right, that's on you.
That creates spark.
You're gonna burn your house down.
I already did.
Oh. So why is it in 2020 that it takes me several tries to add a Bluetooth device? Why is it that I have to open the Settings app that is probably... It's supposed to be more user-friendly, but it's probably the least intuitive thing I've ever used.
Yeah, it's up there.
The control... Why do I have to open the control panel? Do you want the control panel to stay or not? Give me an option here. Do you want me to use the Settings app? Fine, I'll play your game. I'll use the Settings app. Do you want me to use control panel? I don't know. Tell me.
Yeah, well, I mean...
Because there's certain things I have to go into the control panel to do.
Yeah. I usually have to go to the control panel to uninstall anything.
To uninstall stuff. It's a lot of programs just don't include an uninstall executable. And then sometimes the uninstall executable doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
So you have to go in a control panel to add and remove programs. I think you can do that in Settings.
Yeah, you can go into Settings and it has all your apps, but most of my apps aren't even there. Most of them aren't even there, or it freezes. When I hit uninstall, it just freezes. Yeah.
The Settings app is awful.
Yeah, no.
Even trying to add printers, you can't... It's difficult to add printers by IP. That's normally how I add printers. It's incredibly difficult to add a printer by the IP address, which should be the simplest way of adding a printer.
It's like a direct connection. Like,
exactly.
That
it takes me, I don't know, not 30 seconds if I'm lucky. It takes me not 30 seconds to do it through control panel.
Yeah, I don't know why it's so bad. I mean, I think of like the Bluetooth device adding. Look at Android and iOS.
Awful.
I can I can even that's not that great, and I can get anything I need done with Bluetooth.
But it works.
But it works, and like almost every single time.
Do you know how many problems I've had trying to connect my Bluetooth earbuds on Windows?
Oh yeah, no, it's ridiculous.
And because if you connect it to a different device, sometimes it connects back to your laptop, as that was my experience with it with my laptop. And then sometimes it just doesn't. You have to remove the device, uninstall the device, and re-add it, repair it to your laptop. Why? Why is that not an issue with my phone?
Yeah.
Why is that not an issue with my Linux boxes? And I'm not saying Linux Bluetooth is perfect either. It has its issues.
But it works.
Yeah. It's just a menu. I just click the menu, click the device. And it has a little bit of difficulty because I use GPU pass-through on a VM. So if I pass through my Bluetooth adapter, it doesn't... You have to unpair the device and pair it again, but that's different.
That's a different reason. That's not OS based. That's just simply the rig, right? The way you have it hooked
Yeah.
up.
And it's there's probably something weird going on when it's trying to connect because it's connecting to the same Bluetooth adapter in a different operating system, virtualized on top of an operating system.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
It doesn't like it as much. Like my keyboard has issues too. Like if I shut down the VM, the keyboard will stop working. I have to replug it in.
Yeah.
Dumb stuff like that.
Things like that. But
I don't use my Windows 10 VM too much.
Yeah. Well, that's just, that's part of what comes with it.
Yeah. And for the maybe 10,000 people out of, every computer user who uses this technology, you know the struggle.
Yeah.
I'm trying actually. We talked about Linus Tech Tips earlier. I'm gonna bring him up again. He recently did a sponsored spot about Shadow PC, which is essentially the same idea, virtualized Windows, but it's on a network and has a lot of quality of life things that you would expect to work fine on, like if you were running it on bare metal, and it doesn't have as many quirks as something like a kernel-based virtual machine would have. But so I'm thinking about that to outsource my gaming to. Not all of my gaming, because a lot of stuff works fine under Linux, but my Windows gaming, so like Red Dead 2, Modern Warfare, those are probably the only two games I'll play on PC, or I have to play on PC.
Yeah.
You can get Red Dead 2 to work on Linux. Not well.
Yeah, no, not well at all. It hardly worked on Windows for a while.
Which is odd because GTA 5 works fine on Linux.
Mm-hmm.
Like ProtonDB it gave it like a gold or platinum. So I don't know what the deal with Red Dead is.
Yeah, that's something altogether. Maybe it has something to do with the amount of time the game's been out.
I don't know.
It's something.
But weird. But if I can outsource my gaming to that, it's like $14.99 a month or something, and you rent a machine, which that's pretty cool as a service if it works.
Yeah, if it works well enough. I mean, that's a very interesting way of going about it.
But when they actually get back to me and I actually get my account going, I'll talk about it more in depth, because I'm always kind of sketched out by looking into something that was a sponsor spot.
Yeah.
Because obviously Linus was paid money to speak about this product. So how much of that was Linus and how much of that was the money?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it comes down to with anything sponsored or any product sponsored, so.
So that's why I only got the monthly thing. It's cheaper if you get it yearly, but.
Yeah, but you gotta see how it is first, so.
Yeah, but I will let you guys know, because I am not paid, right? And frankly, I don't want your damn money, all right? I have a job.
Yeah, I mean, that's the truth.
I'd rather not have your money and be honest if your product's shit, all right, than have your money and lie through my teeth. So let's talk about something a little simpler than like blood rituals and oaths that you have to take to enter the Linux community, and how much I dislike Windows 10. consoles. There's new ones coming out.
Yeah, in case you haven't heard about.
Yeah. Like if you haven't heard somehow, if you're in a coma, if you're dead, maybe you haven't heard about it.
Yeah.
If you're leave a comment if you're dead. So the new consoles, I don't really care about the Series X, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, from what I've seen, heard, read, there's a lot less exciting things happening on that end.
It's not as interesting to me. Like, it just seems like it's interesting in the sense that it has better hardware, and it's probably going to be better spec'd than the PS5.
Yeah, I mean, from on paper, it seems like it's the superior powerhouse. But do I give a shit?
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing interesting to drag me in the Xbox direction.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big console gamer either.
Yeah, no. I personally have always just, like, since the PS3 gotten the PlayStation simply for the exclusives, because especially with the last gen, well, it's the current gen, I guess, the PS4, you know, you have your exclusives on there, and, like, Horizon Zero Dawn is coming out in a few days, but as for, like, their other exclusives, there's nothing else on PC, but I can play Halo on my PC.
Exactly, and it's, I mean, honestly, like I said, I'm not a big console gamer. The only reason I would get a console is for the exclusives.
Yeah.
There's nothing on the Xbox that really drags me in.
No, even, like, the one, like I said, Halo, and the one other thing about it, that the other exclusive I like, Forza, that's on PC as well, and it looks twice as good. I mean, arguably, it looks really good on PC, so...
Yeah.
I mean, I'm more interested in the PC side when it comes to the Xbox because, you know, like I said, their exclusives mostly are on PC.
Well, because it's owned by Microsoft, and obviously they're gonna port their exclusives to Windows.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to push Windows as like a gaming thing too.
Yeah, Windows. Yeah.
Which is smart, especially because I would venture to guess 98% of people who play video games on a computer play on Windows. So
yeah, but as for the PlayStation, I mean, like you said, the Xbox is more powerful, but the PlayStation, they have the SSD, and even the design choice. I know a lot of people are like, oh, the new consoles look like shit. The PlayStation looks like a stupid ass binder. The Xbox looks like this weird, like, literal box. But design speaking, the PlayStation looks like. It looks different. It's something.
That's kind of a stupid argument to make that it doesn't look good, because let's flip back through the last few generations of console, right? Xbox One original, black brick. PS4 original, black brick.
With slopes.
It was a little skewed.
Yeah.
Right. Someone sat on it. Right. Rhombus. You know.
Yeah.
Let's go back. PS3. It's got a little curve on it.
Little fatty boy.
Yeah, it's dummy thick. Xbox 360, it's a box. Black brick.
White, actually. 360 launched.
Original white. Yeah, originally white. I had the black one because I got in late.
No, I think that was the Xbox 360 S, or whatever the hell they called it.
Yeah, the Xbox 360 doesn't red ring this time.
Yeah, right. Works. As expected, 3 months after purchase.
The Xbox 360 W for works.
Yeah.
W for we didn't fuck it up this time.
Basically.
Even the Nintendo consoles.
Yeah.
The Wii U, box. The
Yeah.
Wii, box. The Switch, somewhat interesting.
The GameCube, literal box.
Actual cube, it's in the name.
Yeah.
Game Cube.
Yeah. It's a cube that does game.
Exactly.
The Switch, however,
little interesting.
It's a tablet. It's basically a freaking tablet that's super modular and badass.
Instead of doing two consoles, well, you know how they did like the Wii U and the 3DS. Instead of doing two, they just did one.
They unified it into one, package. So, and it looks cool. It looks nice.
Yeah, I have a Switch.
Yeah,
I use it sometimes.
Nice. But with the new gen consoles, the Xbox is this. I know what Xbox is doing with their design.
It's straight up a rectangular prism.
Well, their point for doing that is that it's Austin Evans talked about this in one of his videos with Microsoft.
Austin Evans is a fucking shill, dude.
Well, yeah, you're not wrong, but apparently the unusual design was for cooling. It was to get
That makes
everything in a
sense to
tight
me.
space and then use one fan for everything. There's one fan in the Series X.
That's how servers are cooled.
Yeah.
They have, at least my server, it has 2 fans at the head of each. It's a blade server, so it has 2 different units. But the head of each unit has 2 fans, and they just send so much air through it that it cools everything.
Yeah.
So same kind of meme, because heat rises.
Yeah.
You have a fan at the bottom. You know, you obviously don't need that much cooling. You know, you don't need a big fuck off 2 amp fan that sounds like a
jet
blower.
engine, yeah.
Yeah, but you have a big 140 millimeter, 200 millimeter fan. You know, you can run it decently low RPMs. You just pump everything up through it. That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, so that was supposedly the Series X design scheme. The PlayStation, if I remember correctly from the interview, well, not the interview, but when they announced the console officially, the CEO went on record and said they wanted something that it will fit in a modern home as time goes on. They don't want it to age. They want it to look futuristic going forward, more so than, you know, like put an Xbox 360 on the side of your PC. I mean, your PC has glass paneling, these sharp edges, this nice a 360 is this weird round oval. If you look at it from the top, it's an oval.
Yeah.
And that's what I guess Sony was trying to avoid, was, you know, that outdated look, because, you know, like we talked about, I think aside, consoles, you know, they're impressive for their time. You know, look at the PS4 7 years later, incredibly powerful still because of optimization with first party titles. You know, you have this outdated looking thing, like a DVR sitting on your counter.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
That was Sony's approach, and I can respect that, because I'm in the minority, and I think that the PS5 looks pretty badass, to be honest with you.
I feel like I'm also in a minority group as someone who just doesn't care
About how it looks, yeah.
Yeah, I have a PS4. I have a launch PS4 because it was cheap. And honestly, it looks fine.
Yeah, no, it looks
like
cool.
it's
all right.
like I didn't buy it and I'm like, damn, this thing looks nice. I bought it and I'm like, yeah, it's a PS4.
Yeah.
Like I bought it because it does what I want it to do.
That's like, well, that's the same people who complain about the designs are the same people who are complaining about the PS5 logo, because it's the PS4 logo with the number 5. Who gives a shit?
Isn't that what all the PlayStation logos have been?
They've been like slightly different. Like the PS4 is like a genuine P and an S, but the other one was like their own take on a letter P, and like they did little minute changes. And like the PS2 had that P and S all as like one line that continued. But do I give a shit?
Yeah, do I care? Really?
You know what I want? I want to play the new Spider-Man Miles Morales at maxed out settings on the PS5. You know, whatever they decide to make maxed out, because I know they're gonna have graphical options with the next gen consoles.
Yeah.
And that's all I give a shit about. I don't care that the PS5 logo is the PS4 logo with the number 5. Yeah, that chronologically made sense to me that it would be that.
Yeah, think about this. You hit the power button on your PlayStation. That's the only time you're going to see the logo, is the power up screen.
Yeah, and maybe, yeah, honestly. I was going to say maybe the controller, but even the controller uses that old school PS2, like PS one line symbol as the PlayStation logo. The only time you're going to see PS5 is on the Game Box cases and literally when you boot up that console.
And even like things that are meant to be like a centerpiece, as it were, like my gaming rig. It's not that I don't care what it looks like, it's that I don't care as much as some people do.
Yeah.
Like, obviously I got a nice case, and I made it look as pretty as I could.
Yeah.
But it's not like this big, like, extravagant, RGB-laden thing.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not trying to build a 16-year-old's Honda Civic. I'm trying to build a machine that's going to work and do what I want it to.
Yeah, incredibly powerful, incredibly fast. And I think that's kind of where I appreciate the approach Sony's taking, where I feel like they're going more so for incredibly fast. Like, I know they both have crazy SSDs, but like, have you seen the demos of Spider-Man for the PS4 running, like the load times running on the PS5?
Yeah, it's like nothing.
It goes from like 18 seconds of load time to 0.8.
Yeah.
I think it's 0.08. it's incredibly fast. It's faster
That's
than
where
anything.
that's where the technology is going to be, I think.
Yeah.
Is
And
that,
the controller. They've made a bunch of improvements to the controller as well.
well, that's
or
what
on
I think
paper.
is going to be the biggest drawing point for Sony. It's going to be the exclusives, and it always has been.
Yeah.
But other than the exclusives, because that's probably the biggest factor that people take into account when buying a console.
Yeah, I know it's the one thing that always makes me get a PlayStation for sure. Is the exclusives.
The exclusives are way better.
Yeah.
And
even if they're not better, once again, I can get the other ones on my PC. So now I have both ends of the spectrum, and I'm good.
Yeah. So, but I think that SSD is going to sway a lot of people.
I mean, yeah, I know I'm pretty pumped to see, because they even talked about the asset duplication. So, like, you have multiple levels that have duplicates of assets, so now you get,
and it's
like...
so fast that they don't have to duplicate the assets.
There's no seek time.
So it's...
Yeah, you save storage.
Yeah, it's a smaller game, so instead of your Red Dead 2 that's going to be...
105 gigs.
Yeah, 100 plus gigs, it'll probably be 50 gigs or something.
Yeah, granted, again, these numbers are, just us, blabbering, so maybe it wouldn't be as drastic, but from the looks of it, especially with games like Red Dead that are open world, so it's all seamlessly generated, there's a lot of seek time for those assets versus like a linear experience.
And especially, the original PlayStation, original Xbox, PS4, and original Xbox One, spinning discs, all right?
Yep.
If you know anything about anything, spinning discs, slow.
Slow as hell.
Bad.
Even the fastest spinning disc.
I haven't booted from a spinning disc in a long time. And I don't miss those days because it took 2 minutes for my PC to boot up.
Yep, I remember being there. Especially then you get your older hard drive that would start to wear out faster than an SSD. Or if you vibrate the thing, Yeah. If for some reason something happens where the hard drive gets out of whack, you are screwed. You see all those memes of people saying hard drives, slight vibration destroys it, and then they have an SSD. They're like, yeah, just tape it to the side of the case.
Yeah,
That's
just do whatever.
That's the truth. I mean, you could stick an SSD to your ceiling and run a cable. You're good.
Because there's nothing moving in your SSD.
Everything with moving parts is always much more susceptible to breaking.
That's why printers suck. There's so many moving parts.
Yeah, everything's a moving part. But yeah, these next-gen consoles, man, that SSD has me excited. There's obviously the obvious thing with the higher frame rate, the higher the higher resolution. That's all fine and dandy. I plan on sticking with 1440p 144 monitor. So if the PS4 can give me the 1440 120 like it supposedly will with certain things, yeah, I'm fine with that. That's cool. That's nice to be able to play, the exclusives that I have no other choice where to play them at a nice refresh rate. But I think the swaying point is the load times.
Oh, absolutely.
It's incredible. How fast it is. It's absolutely incredible.
I think so, especially because for comparable performance on PC, you're looking at probably at least $2,500 in SSDs.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because you need multiple.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I think it's 825 gigs or 865 gigs for the PS4 5, and then the Series X is a 1 terabyte. And I also heard that the Series X uses memory cards that you buy. When the PS5 is an NVMe. I think they're both NVMe's, but the Xbox has those proprietary.
Yeah, you can get literally a memory card.
But it's not 200 meg. It's 1 terabyte.
Yeah,
I'm not a huge fan of that. Personally,
as thinking about it from a consumer point of view, think about who owns consoles.
That's a good point. As soon as you said consumer point of view, I kind of got where you were going with that.
A console owner is much more likely to wanna just
plug and play.
Slide a thing in and bam, I have more storage. He doesn't want to go through opening up his console, putting in a new drive, as simple as it may be.
Yeah.
Putting in a new drive,
my thought,
formatting it, it's a whole thing, and now you have your new drive.
Yeah, my thought process, before you said that was, I would like where I can buy an actual NVMe drive and just put it in, more so than these super expensive proprietary, I say super expensive, but there hasn't been any prices.
Maybe
but
if they took that proprietary interface and just made it an empty shell you can put an NVMe drive into.
Yeah.
Something like, or a 2.5-inch SSD.
Yeah.
Something like that, I think, would be a good thing to sell, because then you get a little modularity.
Yeah.
If you want to, when you have the money, you can get one of those Sabrent 8 terabyte SSDs and put it in there.
I think it's tough too. Specifically, I haven't heard much about the SSD other than that there's memory cards for the Series S. But with the PS5, that custom controller, that's on the SSD, correct? Like that control module.
I believe so.
I think that's where there might be a slight problem on the Sony side of things.
You're not going to get that full.
You don't get that full impact. I mean, don't get me wrong. I use an NVMe boot drive, and that's absolutely freaking amazing. But compared to what they're, touting it as for the PS5, I don't think it's going to be necessarily the best to just swap out that proprietary SSD they have with your own, 1 terabyte NVMe or 2 terabyte NVMe. And I feel like there could be issues there with not only like compatibility per se, but also like the way games are designed around that SSD.
Oh yeah.
If you have a game that's designed for this hyper light speed SSD that can do, load an entire open world game in 0.8 seconds, and then you put one in that can, only load it in 1.8 seconds, there might be, a couple issues there. How that will affect it, I don't know, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I imagine you're probably going to run into issues with that where you might get more pop-in, or just textures might just not load because it doesn't have that special controller chip on it.
So, I mean, unless Sony starts selling proprietary NVMEs at larger capacities, which I could see being a possibility, but then it goes back to what you said. What consumer besides, not what consumer, but how many consumers are going to want to pop open their new $500-$600 console, pop in a new SSD? No one's going to want to take that risk,
Exactly.
That's like there was people like myself where right after I got my PS4 originally, I put a 2 terabyte hard drive in there right shortly after, because that's the type of thing I do. It's like we mentioned in the first episode, we tinker, but your average person doesn't want to do that. You don't want to pull your console apart. You want to plug the thing in and play some damn games,
Absolutely.
So it's certainly a tough thing to manage, and I definitely think that custom controller might be a slight issue there. Especially because that custom controller, it's on the SSD for that SSD. So it's not like they can do anything where they put like a controller on the motherboard that interfaces with the SSD, because then it won't interface with any other SSD.
That's true.
It's tough. It's extremely tough. So I'm going to leave that one to the geniuses over at Sony and pretend I know what I'm talking about.
Point I was trying to make, though, is it has a similar kind of idea as the T2 chip on the Apple SSDs, which essentially just prevents you from booting a new OS.
Yeah.
Or putting in your own SSD, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think you can just throw in like any old average SSD.
Yeah, like you can't dual boot your OS, which is like, I know they have Boot Camp as a utility, but it just doesn't, you can't dual boot your own OS. For Boot Camp, your only option is to boot Windows. If you wanted to boot Linux for whatever reason, you can't, because you'd have to legitimately dual boot.
Yeah.
That's dumb. That's whack.
I mean, it comes down to, once again, like we said earlier, the consumer friendliness.
Well, I guess the normal average Joe isn't gonna notice that as an issue.
True.
Isn't gonna try to dual boot Linux onto their Mac, the MacBook.
I'm sure everyone who has a MacBook does that.
I would say probably
nobody, besides like real big techies.
Probably 90% of people who own MacBooks own one to say they own a MacBook.
Yeah,
I will be honest.
I feel like that's the same people who own an iPhone.
To say they own an iPhone.
Yeah.
And shit on Android users.
Yeah, even though their naivety is extreme.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind getting shitted on a little bit about having an Android
yeah.
phone, but you best know your shit before you come at me about it.
Yeah.
If you're just going to come at me and say my camera sucks, well, then we
when
have
it's
a problem.
better than yours. Like,
yeah. I mean, for Christ's sake, we have that Red Shark phone with a 128 megapixel camera.
Yeah. I think, personally, I see this posted around a lot, that iOS treats you like a user, whereas Android, at least bone stock Android, treats you like an administrator.
Yeah.
where you have control over your OS. And I will say Windows has that too. Mac OS has a lot less of that.
Yeah, you're locked into like this ecosystem, you know, and it tries to treat you as if you're the one using
You're
the product.
idiot.
Yeah, you're the one using. It's just like how they call their freaking tech guys geniuses, or they used to. I think they stopped now.
No,
but,
they still have the genius bars.
Yeah.
It's incredibly insulting, though, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean.
Oh, I brought my laptop to the genius back there.
And you know what he did? He popped off the back cover and put a new NVMe in.
He popped off the back cover, took one look, said, "Oh, you got water damage, can't take it." Even though because I didn't actually have water damage, it was just really humid last week, and
Yeah, that bullshit's annoying. But yeah, I mean, circling back to the consoles, I'm interested to see how it goes forward. Because with last gen or this gen, it was super easy to upgrade your storage on both consoles.
Was it on the Xbox? I know on the PS4 there was just like a slide out thing.
Well, on the Slim PS4 you could just literally slide it out. On the stock one, like the one you have to pop off the top cover. With the PS4 Pro, I'm not entirely sure. I think it's under the top cover as well. And you know, I should rephrase that because I don't remember how it was on the Xbox original versus the S. I don't remember what they changed. But it was much easier per se than I would imagine these new consoles are.
Well, yeah, because they're using real drives. They're not using this proprietary thing.
Yeah, which little tidbit of news I saw. I didn't really read much into it, but the PS5 it seems to have leaked. You know the white flappy parts on the sides that everyone's bitching about?
Yeah.
Apparently, there's a leak stating that those come off and you can customize them.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So, like, you could spray paint it. They just said pop off, like, with clips, and you just spray paint them, do whatever you want, or you might even be able to buy custom ones.
Oh, that would be cool for guys who really like debrand.
Yeah.
Like their skins. You just slap a skin on that boy.
Yeah.
And call it a day.
That would be certainly cool, I would say. I know people did that with, like, last-gen consoles. They'd, you know, customize it, but that required you to pull the whole thing apart.
Well, yeah, you have to pull the panels off to actually get to them.
Yeah, this seems like they just might slide off and then pop right off. So
that's pretty cool.
That would be cool. So, you know, that'd be nice.
At least a little bit of customization.
Yeah, because you're always limited when you buy into something, you know, that's meant to be limited for the sake of usability.
You know, what I think, talking about consoles, I think about this a lot, is why isn't there a company? There might be, but like, why isn't there a big company that just makes like kit PCs? You know, why isn't there a company that puts all their parts together in a box
and sends them to you free to build?
Yeah, and gives you like instructions. Maybe it has like kind of a custom motherboard, so it's a little simpler.
Yeah.
Why doesn't that exist?
Yeah, that's a good point. That would be certainly something to think about.
That'd be a cool thing. Hey, any entrepreneurs out there? I'll only charge you 10%
for the. Yeah, no, that
call
would
it
be
a founder's
cool,
fee.
That would be cool though. You know, some sort of like build your own, but with assistance essentially.
Yeah, like a big manual and stuff, so you don't have to. I think there's a market for it. I know a lot of guys who want to build PCs or they want to get into PC gaming.
But it's terrifying.
But it's scary. The thought of building your own PC is scary.
Yeah. And like as someone who's, you know, done it, it might not seem scary, but you have to think back to like when you first, you know, built your own. It's intimidating. Just simply putting a CPU in is like
that's definitely the most nerve-wracking part because there's so many pins that you can bend.
Yeah. It's certainly horrifying. So I mean, again, I hope these next-gen consoles live up to the hype, and I certainly hope that those NVMEs are as great as they sound because...
Oh, I'm sure they'll be good.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll be as good as they are in the demos.
Yeah, that's the thing you have to take with a grain of salt is the demo performance, but I'm not going to pretend that they're going to be bad because they're not. It's an NVMe SSD. You know the possibility of that being bad is?
It's going to be good either way. NVMe's fast.
Very fast.
Fast.
So... I guess time will tell.
I hope so. All right. So, on that note, we rounded off with the consoles. We talked about Windows. We talked about Apple Silicon. We talked about coffee makers. I think that's going to do this episode. Like I said last time, we're going to shoot for like an hour and a half. might be a little shy, might be a little long, depending on how it goes. If you have any suggestions, any comments, criticisms, things you want us to go over, something like that, shoot us an email at synapsemisfire@pm.me. Spelled just like the YouTube channel. It'll be in the description if I remember. synapsemisfire@pm.me. It'll go directly to either one of us. We'll either respond on the show or as an email. Or both.
There you go. See, we told you we were friends.
Yeah. See? It's like we're finishing each other's...
Sandwiches?
Yeah.
See,
I was hoping you were going there.
See, there you go.
All right. Anyway, that's our bit.
Yeah, if you made it this far, thanks for listening.
Yeah, and thanks for...
hope we're doing a good job, so...
I think it's been pretty good so far.
Yeah.
But
we'll see.
Obviously, you'll let us know. So, thanks for tuning in, and I guess we'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks. Get out of my house now.